Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into our Senior Hub webinar on Friday, February 23rd. I can't believe we are already almost at the end of February. Time is flying this year. So just a quick introduction of me. Hopefully you all know me by now, but if you don't, I'm Shirin Alipana. I'm one of the board members at Village Core, and I'm here joined with two bright and amazing individuals, which I'm going to introduce pretty soon. So today a conversation is going to be about mental fitness and how we all go through so much in life, right? In life, without stress is no life. That's what I think, because it doesn't really exist. But how do we actually find a balance? How we train our mind to get to a point that, yes, there are stresses in our life. We can never really avoid them. But how do we really react to these situations? And how do we come out at the other end with some empathy towards ourselves, and how we can train our mind to help us get to that point that we actually put our head into our pillow at night and actually fall asleep without having to think about all the stress and everything that happens throughout the day. So with that, just a quick introduction on the Village Core. Village Core, we are a resource center for our senior community. And what it means is that we bring best of the best to you with all the educational information, with all the resources that you need. So you can come to the site, you can come to our portal and learn about pretty much everything that you need to know in this phase of your life, and then who to reach out to and where to go if you need help. And one of the things that we do every Friday, Sean and I, we host this event that we bring in, again, the experts in the industry from various industries, various parts of services that you might need, and we introduce them to you in hopes that we can educate you better in that specific topic, and we can also provide you a resource and an expert to go to if you really need one-on-one help. So that's Village Core. And I told you about me. Shaw is our executive director. Shaw, say hello to everybody.
Hello.
We are super lucky to have him part of Village Core, because without him, we could not have done any of these webinars. We could not have brought this community together. And our special guest today is Dr. Ravi Rajaratnam. And Ravi and I, we go long back. I've known him for a very long time. He is an executive leadership advisor, coach, and he will talk about his journey to where he is today. But he has developed his own platform that provides mental fitness, basically help and advice and coaching. It's called Positive Intelligence. And one of the things that I love about one of the mantras that he has, one of the very many that he has, is that your mind is your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy. And he's here to teach us how we can keep our mind as our best friend, not the enemy. So with that, Ravi, please introduce yourself and let's dive into our today's session.
Thanks, Sharon. It's a pleasure being here. Good afternoon, everybody. I am so excited to speak to you about how you can boost your mental health, especially since it's, at this stage of your career and at your age as well, but throughout like early ages too, people are having mental health issues. So Sharon talked a little bit about positive intelligence. It's all about how do I give you tools to equip yourself to be more resilient so it doesn't lead to poor mental health, hence the mental fitness, right? Just like how you go to a physical gym to do your physical workout, what can you do? When was the last time you went to the mental gym? If I were to ask you the question, how many of you will raise your hand? Probably very few, right? So the mental gym is basically your mind and your brain, and what are you doing down there to improve that muscle there? Okay, so I'm going to bring up my slide if I may. I started my career as a software engineer and worked myself to become a chief information officer and an executive partner. But throughout my career, the most difficult part was not the technology part, it was the people. And specifically why people behave and think and feel the way they do, especially during adversity. So I ended up understanding, doing my PhD in industrial organizational psychology, specifically in organizational development and leadership, to truly understand what makes people behave the way they do and think the way they do and feel the way they do, right? And I started also doing all this research and found out there were normally three common things that always impacted them in terms of preventing an individual from being their best version of themselves. And a lot of it has to do with their thoughts, right? And the negative chatter that happens. So that's why, I transitioned from my technology into having my own practice, helping people to have better mental fitness and mental health and being the best version of themselves. Okay. So I also wrote a book, like I said, it's called Hardwiring versus Rewiring. And the reason why I wrote this book was as I was working with different individuals, the three common things that always came up that was preventing them to be the best version of themselves were trauma, their belief system, and early childhood development. And there was a direct link between early childhood development skills and what we call the 21st century skills. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book as well, to really give an in-depth view of how we can change the mindset, skill set, and behaviors while they're young so that we can become exemplary citizens while we're older. All right. This is what Sharon was talking about earlier. Your mind is your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy. Do you know why that's the case, by the way?
I can take some guesses, but I think it just depends on how you use it, right? And how it uses you, I guess.
Yeah, they're pretty close. It's to do with your thoughts, the inner chatter in your brain, right? And because the other question I have is, do you have any idea at all how many thoughts that you get per day? Give me
I
a
know I
guess.
get a lot, but I don't know.
Sure. What do you think? How many thoughts per day do we have every day? Rough guess. 1,000, 2,000, 10,000,
Between 500 to 800.
500, 800 thoughts a day?
Oh,
What do you think, Sharon? Do you agree,
I think
disagree?
there are millions, really.
You're
Well,
getting there.
oh, mine. Oh, my.
50 to 70,000 thoughts per day.
Oh, wow. Mine is probably more.
And that is 35 to 48 thoughts per minute,
Oh, my God.
right? And how many thoughts do you remember? Right? That's 50 to 70 thoughts per day.
Wow.
And if you look at, according to the National Science Foundation, 95% of the thoughts are repetitive. That's the playback that you do over and over again, right? And out of the 95%, 80% are negative. How many of you can relate to that?
That's me.
So the problem down here is like if 95% of them are repetitive and 80% of the thoughts are negative, who's controlling that? Right? It's basically you, right? Because the brain is literally a supercomputer. Because whatever you repeatedly say to yourself matters, right? And this is not science fiction. This is actually a science fact. If you've heard of something called Herb's law of neuroplasticity, neurons that fire together wires together, because we have all this billions of neurons in our brain. And neuroplasticity is, yes, it is the highest when you're between 0 to 7 years old, but it's also still exists even as you age, right? But the self-talk that you do to yourself shapes your brain. And what that does in return is it shapes your beliefs. And that belief drives your behavior. And that behavior creates your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Essentially, what it does is it creates the totality of your reality, right? The brain does not have a choice. It will create whatever you tell itself to do. But do you know who has a choice?
Well,
You
I
do.
guess.
You do. It's all about taking conscious responsibility over your unconscious behaviors. What does that mean? Remember what I said 95% of your thoughts are repetitive? That's parked in your unconscious brain, right? And give you a good example about that is, let's say you're driving from home to work. You don't pay attention to driving. You're thinking of multiple other things that while you're driving to work. And lo and behold, you're there at work, right? And how that happened, because that was part of the subconscious. It's already been programmed, hardwired. And that's what we behave every day based on the subconscious. And only 5% of the time we're actually conscious about what we do. Because as a human being, we're wired two different ways: fight, flight, or freeze, or to grow. And when we're in fight, flight, or freeze, we're parking it to our unconscious survival mode, right? Being more reactive. And when you're reactive, guess what? You're shutting down your creative side. That's where the growth is, right? The innovation is. So this whole concept about how do you take advantage, how do you take control, right? Conscious responsibility or your unconscious behaviors is through something that I found out called positive intelligence, right? It's also called PQ. Essentially, it works on mental fitness and helps you with performance, your well-being, engagement, and also relationship, while also establishing a growth mindset. So the first question you should be asking is, what is mental fitness, right? Mental fitness is nothing more to responding to life challenges with a positive rather than a negative mindset, right? Does that make sense? Because again, 80% of the thoughts are negative. So we're going to train you how to improve your mental fitness so you're responding to the life challenges with a positive mindset versus a negative mindset. Trying to look at the lessons learned and the gift. And what that eventually does is helps with performance, well-being, and relationships. What I like about mental fitness as well, and positive intelligence specifically, this was a synthesis of 4 different sciences, a combination of neuroscience, cognitive behavioral psychology, positive psychology, and performance science. And we have tested it over different demographics across the world. Over 1 million participants from 52 different countries have gone through this program and seen not just changes, transformational changes. And essentially the whole premise of positive intelligence is we have in our brain something we call saboteurs, things that are constantly, sabotaging us. And this research, what it done is it came up with 10 negative factors or saboteurs and 5 positive responses that we have, right? And what positive intelligence does is go at the root level of what's impacting you. And we all have something called the judge, where we're constantly judging others, judging the events, judging the circumstances, and things like that. And that is dominant on everybody. In addition to the judge, there are 9 other accomplices: controller, hyperachiever, restless, stickler, pleaser, hypervigilant, avoider, victim, hyperrational. I'm sure some of you can relate to this, right? My top 2, when I did my assessment, my top 2 saboteurs were hyperachiever and restless. And they were right on. They served me well, especially as an immigrant coming into this world, this country. But at what cost? Was there a negative side effect to that? So it's important. Achiever is great. It's just that when they're a hyperachiever, that's when the problem happens, right? So what is positive intelligence, and why does it differ from something called IQ and EQ? IQ being the traditional intelligence and emotional intelligence being EQ. What I like about PQ is, again, through the synthesis of the 4 sciences, it emphasizes cultivating a positive mindset that also fosters optimism and find meaning and purpose in life's challenges. That is the game changer between IQ and EQ and PQ. So positivity. The second way it differs from IQ and EQ is through resilience, right? It shows you how to build resilience and bounce back from setbacks and adapt to change. And finally, self-awareness. We all heard of EQ, where it emphasizes self-awareness. But what PQ does is it takes you to the next level, where it looks at your thoughts, your beliefs, and the behavior, and see how it's influencing your mental well-being in a positive way or a negative way. Okay. So what I wanted to do is just at this point walk through some strategies for harnessing positivity, right? And positive thinking not only involves maintaining a helpful, optimistic outlook, but it also helps you face challenges and setbacks in a much easier way, right? Why? Because it improves your mental well-being, enhance coping abilities, and better overall health. So one of the first strategies I would like to walk through is something called cognitive restructuring. This is normally like an interactive exercise, but since, we can do that with Sharon and Shah. So first thing with cognitive restructuring is think about a recent challenge or setback. You can either write it down or think of all the negative thoughts or self-talk that you did to yourself. Okay. Take a minute to just think about a recent challenge or a setback. It could be anything. It could be something small, something big. And think about all the negative thoughts that came in and the self-talk that you told your brain. Give me a thumbs up once you have that. And then I'll move on to, okay, perfect. The next step is now I want you to challenge that negative thought. What did that mean, right? Was there evidence either supporting or refuting this negative thoughts? Question the validity and accuracy. Are they based on facts? Or are you assuming something? Because we all know when you assume, right, what happens? And are there alternate interpretation or explanations, right? Once you go through this challenging exercise, the next step is to reframe. That's the final step, right? Reframe the challenge. It's like, okay, is there a growth opportunity here, right? Our silver lining, and shift to the positive and empowering beliefs. Because I can guarantee you that every adversity, you can actually find a gift if you're willing to look at it. The whole concept about life is not happening for you, to you, it's happening for you. That's essentially what it is. Trying to find a gift, right? Even in any adversity. Now, that's one area, one way you can do harness positivity. Another way you can do positivity is through a gratitude journaling. How many of you do journaling right now?
I don't actually write it down, but like I'm trying to stick with like at least repeating it to myself every night before I go to bed. But I hear that the writing is very powerful, right?
There is some magic from the time it goes from your brain to your hand to your pen and paper, right? So write it down. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for each day, and see what the difference it does. And then the final one is optimizing visualization. Visualizing positive outcomes, setting realistic goals, and focusing on solutions, right? Rather than looking just at the problem, right? And there are so many different mechanisms and how you can do visualization, whatever works for you. So this is just simple strategies and how you can, harness positivity, cognitive restructuring, do some gratitude journaling, and then visualization. Okay. Question so far? Okay, let me move on. Here's some techniques to enhance resiliency. Again, this is an exercise that I do typically. The first one is on mindfulness meditation, right? What comes to your mind when you hear the word mindfulness or meditation?
I have to sit down, like be quiet for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's you can do it for as little as 2 minutes and you can see the results. It's nothing more than just being aware of the present moment without judgment, right? But because we have the saboteurs we all have the saboteur, which is the judge. How do you control the judge? So just being aware. One simple way that you could do is paying attention to your breath. When was the last time you paid attention to your breath?
A long time ago, and I think I don't remember.
We take it for granted,
Yeah.
right? So meditation or mindfulness is basically paying attention to what's already there, being more aware, right? Just of your breath. Just try that next time. So that's one. Positive affirmation, that's the secret antidote, I call it, to the self-talk. You know, I want you to take the word no out of your vocabulary. So when somebody asks you something and you haven't done something, instead of say no, say not yet, right? That's another way of, positive affirmation. Not yet, haven't had the opportunity yet. So other ways are I'm resilient, I can overcome challenges. Simple things. Some of this is like common sense, but it's, common sense sometimes are not common, right? And the final one is a stress management technique. If you look at all the major diseases, whether it is diabetes, cancer, heart diseases, and all of that is caused by inflammation. Any idea what causes inflammation?
Isn't that cortisol, right?
Is that
Is that like a stress hormone?
stress?
Yeah.
Stress, exactly. Stress is what causes inflammation. So you can do deep breathing exercises to help with that. There's something called box breathing. There's so many different breathing exercises that you can do. Then you can tap into something called the vagus nerve as well to calm you down. Okay. So just to give you a recap of what we talked about so far, your mind is your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy because of all the self-talk. And keep in mind, you got 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. 95% of the thoughts are repetitive and 80% of the thoughts are negative. So the whole concept about positive intelligence and positivity is taking conscious responsibility over your unconscious behavior, being more conscious. Do you know how much more productive, how much more healthier in terms of a relationship that you'll have if you just increase your consciousness from 5% to 5.1%, or even 5.2%. So that's what conscious responsibility is. And you can do that through positive intelligence. I went through the how does positivity and resilience. Okay. Questions so far?
Yeah, this is eye-opening.
Good. So I want to give you a framework here in terms called mental health improvement framework. There's different versions of it. I wanted to pick 6 of them, right? If you look at it here, emotional well-being and coping strategies, cognitive stimulation and mental challenges, mindfulness and relaxation techniques, social connection and engagement, healthy lifestyle habits, and physical activity and exercises. Again, some of this seems so common, but we don't do it because we don't have the discipline. But the benefits are numerous, right? Let's look at emotional well-being and coping strategies. Essentially, stress management techniques and gratitude practice that I just talked to you about. And then mindfulness and relaxation techniques is all about guided meditation, deep breathing exercise. This is what PQ comes in terms of positive intelligence. Then you got cognitive stimulation and mental challenges, right? A lot of you are probably aware of this. Simple things like brain games and puzzles can also help maintain cognitive function and stimulate mental activity. Life learning, this is also important, not just any learning, lifelong learning. Read a book, take online courses, whatever to keep your mind sharp and engaged. That works wonders. So we covered this side of the equation. Now look at the other side of the equation, physical activity and exercises. Chair yoga or gentle stretching. Again, whatever you can do, just improve mobility, right? And flexibility. Walking tips, if you're able to walk, practice safe and enjoyable walking routines. Healthy lifestyle habit. Nutrition is a big one. Sleep right now is also another big one. You're recommended to have at least a minimum 7 to 8 hours of sleep. There's a lot of research that also has supported this evidence right now. And then the last one being social connection and engagement. I don't know how many of you have seen this documentary in Netflix called The Blue Zone. If you're not, I highly recommend that because this is one of the things that he talked about, having the sense of community and social connection that combats isolation, because that could also lead to poor mental health. Now, why did I bring up all this? All of these are backed by research. If you look at emotional well-being and coping strategies and mindfulness and relaxation techniques, If you look at the Journal of the American Medical Association and the Journal of Affective Disorders, they've shown evidence that cognitive behavioral therapy, such as stress management, mindfulness, positive self-talk, have actually reduced symptoms of anxiety, depression, and stress in older adults. So there's something to do here, and it's not going to cost you anything at all, just some time. And time is the only commodity, one of the common commodities that's non-renewable. Cognitive stimulation and mental challenges. Again, JAMA's neurology talks about puzzles and lifelong learning can help maintain cognitive function and reduce the risk of cognitive decline. There's something called pruning, synaptic pruning. If you don't use a certain muscle, eventually it'll decay. And that's what happened in terms of cognitive decline. Physical activity, exercise, healthy lifestyle habits, and social connection engagement. Here you go. Another research in terms of Journal of Preventive Medicine, Health and Social Behavior, talks about better mental outcomes in older adults. Okay. So I just give you a flavor for positive intelligence and how it has worked. There is actually a program that we have that I incorporate for all of my clients, where there's a mobile app that gives you daily nudges to hold you accountable to do this mindfulness activities. There's also a PQ gym component of it, where it tells you, it gives you options of picking at least from 6 different modalities of mindfulness activities, whether it's tactile, tense and relaxed, moving, labeling with anchors, and things like that. And it goes into a deeper dive in terms of what are all the 10 saboteurs, what are some of the tendencies and some of the lies it's telling you, and how to change your stage from the saboteur stage to sage, which starts with empathy. It all starts with empathy, even when you're judging yourself, right? The key word that I want to leave here is blameless discernment, right? Be more discerning. Don't beat yourself up. Be more empathetic, right? If something went wrong, if you let's say you went in this regimen of trying to get better and you fell off the wagon, rather than beating yourself, oh, I'm such a loser, I can't believe I can't even do it for 2 days. It's like, okay, what happened? What made me not continue with this habit? What do I need to do to get back on it? Okay. So this program is a 6-week program where basically we go through, the week 1 is all about building the self-command muscles with the meditation and the mindfulness activities. And then week 2 to 3 is identifying what are your top saboteurs and how to intercept the saboteurs and change your state from being in that reactive state and tapping into your creative stage where growth and innovation is. And then finally tapping into the sage muscles, which basically there are 5 of them. It starts with empathy, and then after that you explore and you innovate and navigate before you actually take action. So that's the 6 weeks program of the PQ Foundation. And within the 6 weeks of practice, participants have reported that they have boosted your performance, better teamwork, improved their ability to develop others, improve well-being in terms of increased happiness, manage stress better, improve self-confidence, and also strengthen their relationship in terms of better conflict management and improve empathy. So that's what I have for you. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer questions. But that's what it is in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Well, this was great, Ravi. Thank you so much. And that was my next question. So if anybody's interested in learning about this program or getting in touch with you, so we have the email address up here, info@drravirajararatnam.com or ravi.rajaratnam@gmail.com if anybody's interested in reaching out. Also, the app. So if anybody's interested in the app, do they have to get in touch with you first to get going on that, or how's the process?
Yes, please get in touch with me and I'll tell you, because one of the things I want to make sure that you're the right candidate as well.
Right.
I want to understand what are some of your blockers, what do you plan to work on, what's working, what's not working, and I'll give you an overview of the program and how you'll have this app as well that is going to be like a coach in your pocket. Along with that, I'll meet with you on a weekly basis and things like that. So yes, they have to meet with me to go through this
Okay.
if they want to interested in the app.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, your wisdom, and all the tips and tricks that you provided us. And this will be available on our YouTube channel, on our website, and Ravi's information will also be posted for anybody who's interested in getting in touch. And we will see you next Friday. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.